What up, dudes? Top of the morning to you. Alright, so here we are. It's a new day. Back on schedule, finally. Yeah, so let's go ahead, do some, put some work in, dude. Because it's been like 2 days really, but I only worked for like 30 minutes. So we got to get back in and finish this shit because we're very close. Alright, so last time we sound like the PlayStation sound. So last time we were continuing implementation of the proper game data reset for client in various scenarios. Yeah, so we started doing that. We basically finished that actually. We did a refactor. We created this new data reset function. And we do need to review that, but we'll take care of that in a momento. We got data reset function here, and data reset function gets called in round reset at the very end if nobody won, like the match. We run data reset. Yeah, because there's really no point in running it unless somebody won, right? It's like redundant. I feel like this is louder. Yeah, that one's a little bit louder than some of the other background music, whatever. Might be a little bit loud. So yeah, we have the data reset function that runs in at the end of a round if nobody's won, and then we have it run in the context of other client forfeit function. And that was the reason that we needed to divide it up, is because we needed to make sure that in this case the data was reset for the remaining client, so that if they wanted to play another match, all of their stuff would be reset back to factory settings, right? So I feel like this is done and this is implemented correctly. At least I think so. Yeah, we had to do it to be able to call it here. Otherwise, we would have had to call round reset with that data reset code inside of it, and added special logic in the function to like route it a certain way. So it just made more sense to divide it up into two functions. Plus, it's just more organized. It's easier to read, all that stuff. So, alright. So yeah, I think that's good. Let's see what's next. What are we going to do here? So review logic of this function for this call location. And, well, in the context of this function itself, let's just review it real quick. So we have other client forfeit function takes in the winning player parameter. Okay, if winning player ID is equal to 1, other player is equal to P2, else other player is equal to P1. We assign game. Then we do round end winner sound bool equal to true. Progression text assigned function. Congratulations, the winning player. It looks as if the other players forfeited the match. You win game, and then we pass in next func string EC. That's for stands for enter continue. That's so if they hit enter, it doesn't like continue the game until they hit enter, basically. And then we have data reset function at that point. Yeah, and I think that's yeah, that's a good place to call it, I think. And then we have your final score was winning player total score, and other player name's final score was other player total score. Yeah. So we reset that data back to the default settings if they want to start a new match. And Yeah, I think that's great. That's good. Okay. So what do we need to do here? So we have match end bool equals true. After allowing the above progression text to be displayed until they hit enter, this adder gets sent to client side, which triggers client side to end its match and re-enter the matchmaking lobby. Upon reception, client side will then send server side back verified received match end bool. So server side can begin ending the client threads in some process to free up memory, etc. That's correct, dude. Alright, let's check our audio, make sure it's working. That's correct, dude. Let's check our audio, make sure. Yep, audio is good. Audio is great. Alright, back to it. Alright, so we did this. That part's done. Alright, let's see, what do we have here? Ensure that proper resetting of data is happening in this instance. Review logic for this function routing. Ensure that proper resetting of data is happening in this instance. Okay. So we have round reset function which calls winner output. That's if somebody won. And then well, and I see this here. This is not reset anywhere else, like everything else is in round reset function, so it would need to be done here. So that should only be done at the end of the game. So that's, well, but if the other person forfeits, then that wouldn't happen. So how should we do that? Because if I'm understanding this correctly, whenever the game ends regularly, this would get run and it would reset the finished round scores, but in data reset, that is not, it's not reset. Yeah, hold up. Something isn't right about this. Yeah, this is not right. This overall logic is flawed. Because we would want, well, first of all, we want this to happen in the context of data reset function, because we need it to run whenever the other client forfeits. So I feel like from organizing properly would entail moving this into data reset. But then also the secondary issue, well, it's another issue, a separate issue, is the fact that winner output would avoid running data reset. But if they chose to play again, and that's why I put this note here, ensure the proper resetting of data is happening, because it's not. So to solve that problem, couldn't I just run data reset prior? Or we could just call it if they choose to play again. The only reason I didn't want to have it run before we ran this winner output check to see if someone won, like right here, I could have put it up here, but I didn't want to put it there, this data reset function call, because I don't like running code that doesn't need to be run, because that can introduce bugs, and we don't want to introduce any bugs, right? We want to just minimize the possibility of that down to like as low as we can. Plus, it's just more performant, you know. I like to be lean in, you know, my code execution. It's just safer all around, and it's just better practice in general. So I would rather not run this before we ran this win check, because if they do win and they're done, well, we don't need to reset their data, because their data would be reset like naturally when they restarted the client. And I was gonna say, well, couldn't we just make it to where it gets reset whenever they like enter back into the lobby? But that wouldn't work, because whenever they choose to play against the same player, they're not going to actually enter back into the matchmaking lobby. They would just, like, you know, they would re-enter into a new game like straight away. It wouldn't go back to the lobby, have them like re-queue against that person and then start the game. That's silly, right? So yeah, I would like it to where they could just say, yeah, I want to play against this dude again. He kicked my ass, but I'm about to kick his ass, so we're gonna play again, and then it starts over fresh. And in that context, we need data resets to be called. Otherwise, well, the data's not gonna be reset, right? They're gonna be using the old game data, and that's not good. So, okay, now that we got that sorted out, how do we fix it? Well, I think for this second problem, we will just call data reset function if they choose to play again, right? So if we have, if game selected choice is equal to yes and other game selected choice is equal to yes, then we will reset the game. Yeah. And then we'll reset the data. So we need to add that where, like maybe right here. So we'll say resetting the game, and then right here, now it's going to reset the data. And yeah, I think that's good. Okay, and then we have the second issue here with, for current player in P1, P2, current player, this is double indented. Current player finished rounds scores. That gets cleared. And I'm guessing why do we not reset that? Okay, so we don't want to reset that until it's the end of the game. That makes sense. But if they're not going to choose to play again, why would we even do this? That's the first thing I ask myself. When I see code now, old code, I just say, I think the best thing to ask is this necessary? That's the number one thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't think we really need to run this unless they are wanting to play again. Because if this is the end of the game, the only thing that we need is their total score. Now, I think if we were to reset certain data prior to running this line, that would make it to where you wouldn't know you wouldn't be able to calculate their total score. Because, let's see, if we look up total score here, that is a calculated property. So whenever you invoke it to see, like, whenever you call it like that, it's gonna run all this code to calculate the total score. It's kind of like a magic attribute. It's a calculated property. I use those a lot because they're really simple. It does all the magic in the background. You just write it out and it does all this stuff. So it gets the total score by checking the meld requirement. Oh, and this should be under. This is a bug. Or no, it's not. I'm tripping. That's a completely different attribute. I'm a doofus. So I'm looking at meld requirement. I'm an idiot. Let me move. Okay, total score is the sum of self-finished round scores. So it relies on finished round scores. So you have to have that for it to properly calculate the total score. If you don't have the finished round scores, you can't have the total score. And I'm assuming this logic is correct here, to where when we check the round score, it auto appends to the finished round score. Now I want to double check that logic, because that assumes everything is working perfectly. Like no, let me rephrase that. That assumes that every time I invoke the round score namespace, I am doing it with the knowledge that it's gonna like add whatever that round score is to finish round scores each time. So if I were to invoke the name like twice, you know, in a different way, it would just double add it. So we need to ensure associated logic is causing this line to run only when proper, like when it's needed. Yeah, because that's kind of weird. I might change that That's not really good practice. That's what I would call dangerous code. Yeah, we might not want to do that. We might just want to explicitly append the round score to finish round scores at the end of each round. Yeah, you don't... That is... May want to have this explicitly run after this property is calculated instead. AKA outside of this property. Yes. Okay, anyway, so back to what was it, total score or finish round scores? Yeah. Yeah, so to get total score, we need finished round score. So this would be bugged anyway. This is a bug. This is not going to be able to work right because when it goes to run total score, it's going to look in real time for finished round scores and it's going to have been cleared. So this is actually like not good code. This is a bug. So we need to get rid of this. But we do want it to happen at a certain point. We want it to happen at the end of the game, not at the end of the round. So we have to I mean, it should probably go here. That's what data reset does. Does it really matter? Not really, because we only want it to run whenever the game is ending. But sometimes the game ends without... Sometimes the game ends... It doesn't always go to winner output. It might go to other client forfeit function. And that is technically a game end, but it's not... it's just not this function. And you could say maybe that's not the best way to have it organized, and that's a fair thing to say. I usually do end up I might go back and refactor this to where other client forfeit function is basically just like a section within winner output. And we would just modify the logic. I mean, we could do that basically to where winner output, this function gets deleted. We put the code from this function inside of winner output, and we would just add a parameter to winner output which would say forfeit, and then default it to false. But whenever it gets called in the context of a forfeit, we would pass with the true for that argument. And then we would route with an if clause to say if forfeit is equal to true, then we would get to what? We would get basically to right here where it says sorry, other player name, you lost, and that this whole section here wouldn't get run. But I'm forgetting about, I got sidetracked. I really need to fix this final round score thing. That's more important. So where should that go? Okay, well, we had it here in winner output at the beginning. That's a bug. It would have to happen after this line here whenever we show the total score. So we could either add it to data reset function, but that would only need to run in certain instances, or we could just move it to be after this line here. But that we would have to duplicate it because we would need it to also run in the context of other client forfeit func, because we're going to want to reset the data for the other players as well, and that would include the final round scores because the game would be over. So that is true, and that's making me lean towards merging these two functions together, but I'll do that one step at a time here. And this is how it goes, you know, it's a gradual thing. It's like layers, and then you will remove certain layers, and then you'll add certain. It just, you know, there's an art to it. There is a proper way to do it, and it's better to just have it perfect the first time. But let's see. So after total score, congratulations, you're the winner. Blah blah blah. I guess we'll just put it directly after that. Right here. Yeah. Since round reset function has already been run, we don't have to reset any other adders. Data reset, but that's not actually true, right? So since we're going to duplicate this, yeah, I'm actually going to put it inside of data reset. I changed my mind. I like it better that way. And we only need to run it if they're gonna restart, like continue playing, right? If they're just gonna exit out of the client, then we don't want to actually run that because they're not gonna. There's no reason to reset it. It would reset on its own when they started the client back up. True. So let's put it inside a data reset function. I think that's the better solution. So let's go up here, and what we'll do, we'll paste it in here. So it's for current player in P1, P2, current player finish round scores clear. So we'll copy this line. Well, we'll just move it down, get rid of that, and then this is gonna only run if, let's say, match. We call it match or game. Match ending is equal to true. So if the match is ending, we'll run this. Otherwise, we don't want to run it. Only, or we'll say don't run, or how about this? Doesn't run unless for round resets. Yeah, that's better. And now we'll have this parameter get added called match ending, and it's going to be default to false. So we're going to say data reset function match ending equals false. So it's going to default to false, and then whenever we call it, let me just put, don't forget to add that comment here, to add param comment here. Alright. If match ending is equal to true, it defaults to false. And then when we call the, let's see where. So in the context of round reset, or yeah, round reset, we don't pass it in. It will default to false. But if it's winner output, they're resetting the game, so we want to say match ending equals true. And we could just put true, but that's the way I like to do it. Yeah, match ending is equal to true, and that's because the game is over. And we also, whenever we call it here for other client forfeit function, we'll do it here as well. So then we'll say match ending is equal to true. Now, whenever data reset function gets called in the context of round reset, it will be default to false, which means match ending will be false. It won't run this, because then it would mess up the calculation of the finished round scores, right? And like obviously, yeah, you don't want that to happen till the end of the game. It just makes sense. And then the other two places, winner output and other client forfeit function, we would pass that parameter in as true. Alright, yeah, so that's correct logic. That's good. And I'm going to just go ahead, I'll just add the to-do. I don't know, should we merge them? Should we merge other client forfeit function with winner output? We don't have to. It just... I'll say no. What about... We're good. Who cares? But I did want to... Okay, yeah, we have to add the param comment, so let's do that. Always be sure to update your comments whenever you modify the code associated with the section. So we modified this function to add the match ending parameter. So now let's go ahead and add that. And we'll say params. And the first one is going to be match ending. And then we're going to do, say, type. Well, we don't have to do all that. Well, yeah, I guess we can. We'll say type bool. And then purpose is set to true if the match is ending to reset finished rounds scores. Bam. Alright, and then we'll say function purpose to separate it from our param section. Okay, cool. So what's next here? I guess I'll take care of this little thing real quick. This is some old comments, but I don't know if they're still valid. So we have do not need to reset game state since it will be reset to the draw 2 in the draw 2. And then we have do not need to reset progression text since it will be set to resetting the game in the draw 2. You know, I think we might need to reset game state and maybe a few other game attributes whenever the match is ending. Right? Like, I'm pretty sure we would want to do that. Maybe whenever we're resetting the round, actually. Because all this does is reset player data in the master deck. But it doesn't change anything associated with the game data from the game file, such as game state, progression text. I don't think we need to worry about progression text, but like game state. Technically, this may be true though. Technically, game state would probably be reset to the draw 2 once the draw 2 got called again. Yeah, because then it says prepare for the next round, data reset function. Then it calls the draw 2. So let's go up to the draw 2 and see. Let us find out. So we have the draw 2 testing false, and these. It doesn't really matter if you have space, but I think people like it if you don't have that space there. Okay, so for current game and P1, P2 game, current game state equals the draw 2. Yeah, so that's true. So we don't need to set it there. So that comment was correct. No, false. Uh-oh. Yeah, I believe that's the right way to do it. Which means, yeah, we don't need to reset game states until we reset. So yeah, this is true. And then we have do not need to reset progression text since it will be set to resetting the game. And I could have just checked that when I was right there, but I'm a doofus and I didn't check it. So let's go back up there and do that. So we have the draw 2, current game state is equal to the draw 2. And what are we looking for here? Oh, yo. Oopsie, forgot already. Progression text, right? Yeah, so it changes it to this. Yeah, so we're good. Determine. Yep, so this is also true. But it's not set to resetting the game, but it is reset. It will be set in the draw 2. We can just say, yeah, we can just change it like that. I like that. Reset. It will be reset. Okay, we don't have to be specific to what it's being reset to, just that it is being reset at all. Alright. So that is indeed still true. Alright, so let me just quickly scan through here and give it my discount double check. So we got round reset function. Gives us our trace back for, gives us our log rather. Then we have progression text sign function saying the round is over. P1 names final round score was, finished round scores at index -1. And P2 names final round score was P2 finished round scores at -1 index. P1 game, P2 game, next func string is equal to EC. True. And we checked that already. If P1 finished round scores index -1 is less, why don't we just assign this instead of having to look it up again? Why don't we just check round score? wouldn't that be the easier thing to do? Well, oh, this might be bugged actually, because yeah, I got a feeling. I got a bad feeling about that. Let's go back a little bit. So once it gets to round reset function, where does that get called? Because round score ends up translating to, it's a calculated property. It gets calculated when it's called, and at that point in time, at the end of that call, it appends the final result to finished round scores, which is probably bad logic. That's not really the way you want to do it. I mean, it's another programmer would not like the fact that I did that. If he was working on my project, they would be upset with me. But as long as round score is properly called, so yeah, round score calculates when it's called, and then it appends to finished round scores. But we could just say round score to get it. We don't have to invoke finish round scores at index -1. So I'm just wondering, why do we do it this way? So we have went out check. Went out check checks to see if the player is going out. Okay. If they are, it says they successfully went out, and then it tells them their round score. So this is redundant. This is how it should be done right here. This gives them the round score output. So what this is, what's going on here is this latter section of the game has really not been tested. Just like it had been tested a long time ago, but we have done so much refactoring and stuff. This, like the latter section of the game of this file right here, like all this stuff we're looking at right here, hasn't been touched in a long time, and I think overall it needs a cleanup. This is part of the final review, so this was gonna need to be done anyway. Like we were gonna go through and review each file like line by line and do a final review, a final minor refactor, nothing big, you know, just to make sure we don't have stuff like this where you're getting the round score output and then in another place you're getting it again. So I would say this line here is actually in the proper format. Like this is how I would want it to be done. It calculates the round score and it outputs it all at once. We don't have to reference anything else like finished round scores. Now you could say, should this exist here, or should it exist in round reset function? Because look right here, we call round reset function immediately after. So I think yeah, without a doubt, you would say that if we're calling round reset, that means the round is over. We're starting a new round. Therefore, we're going to want to have this line run, which does the round score output. So here's what we'll do. Just solve this problem really easy. We're gonna copy this. We're going to move it to that function, which is round reset, right? So let's go over here, and it says the round is over, blah blah blah, and we're gonna modify this. We're gonna do it like this. Instead, we're just gonna say we can add the round is over to it. So we'll add that. So it's gonna say the round is over, and then it's gonna have round score, current player name, current player round score, other player name, other player round score. And then we have game, next string func, enter continue. And this is going to be, well, we would pass in P1 game and P2 game. Now, why did we only have one of the game? Why did we only have one game arg here instead of two? I wonder why that would be. Maybe that was probably because I want to know. Let's see why. Why did it only have one? Because it only takes current player, so it actually game current player is connected to true. You successfully. So okay, I see. It was just the intent was to give that player his round score, but it just makes more sense to end the round and give them both their score. Okay. Sometimes knowing why is the most important thing. Remember when you would ask your dad why, and he would get really fucking mad if you committed the unpardonable sin? Yeah, I'm not like that. I really enjoy explaining why to my children. The why is the most important thing, right? If you're ever going to do anything, before you do it, ask yourself, why? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Pretty much anything, right? Okay, so we're going to get rid of this. Final round score, blah, 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 blah. That's out of here. Get it going. And now we just have this output instead. The round is over, round score, current player name. But we don't actually have the current player name. Well, we'll just do it like that. We'll just do P1.name. Because those are readily, the P1 and the P2 is readily available through the, in the global scope, and it grabs it from the global scope, right? Yeah. It checks the local scope, the function scope, and if it's not defined in the function scope, it will check to see if it's in the global scope, and it does exist there. So we can access it inside of this function through the global scope. If and you know what I mean. So the round is over, round score, P1 name, P1 round score, P2 name, P2 round score, P1 game, P2 game, next string function, enter continue. Great. Alright, moving on. Okay, what were we looking at before we got sidetracked? There's always the sidetrack, right? That's just how it is. Data reset function. And you know what else? I will add. Yeah, I'll just add this because we want to be sure about this. Check to see if we need to reset game pi data for round resets or match resets. Alright. And these are 3 separate things, so let's just let them be separate. So why were we... How did I end up looking at this? We were looking at round reset function? No, that's not right. I was concerned about the logic. But for what? Okay, so I was looking at finished round scores. I was looking at that output, which used finish round score, and I was like, wait a second. Why don't we just use round score? And then I searched for round score, found that duplicate code here in went out check. Not that function, the regular went out check right here. And then it would call progression text assign function and give the round score output. And then we called round reset. I just feel like there was another reason that I was checking this, and we don't need this now. We needed it to be able to properly refer to it, but we don't need it anymore. Okay, boom. All right. So that's how the end of the starts, right? Okay. So they're playing the game. They keep making plays. Eventually, after every play, we do a went out. We run went out check to see if one of the players went out. Which, if they did, that ends the round. And then, so it checks to see if they have a canasta. If they do, they successfully went out. Then we call round reset function. If they didn't go out, it just continues running the game. But if it did, it will go down here to round reset, and then that does its thing. Tells them who the winner was. Okay, then we have this total score, blah, blah, blah. Winner output. If no one won, then it says prepare for the next round, runs data reset function. Then it calls the draw 2 to start back from the beginning of the round with a fresh slate. Hopefully everything is reset that needs to be reset. That needs to be tested, honestly. But if someone won, it runs winner output, ends the match. Yeah, I think we're good here. I think that's fine. I think we're... I just had a feeling that I was forgetting something. And usually if I have that feeling, I did forget something. But I can't remember. I don't know what it was. So, I mean, I'm not going to hunt for it too much. Maybe I fixed it and my brain didn't register it. Anyway. Okay, so we returned the draw 2, but do we need to return it? I don't think we really do. I think we could just call the draw 2. You only need to return if you need to return to the place that called it. But we're not returning to that place. It's never going back there. It's like a... I don't really know how to describe it. It's basically like a maze of functions where one calls this one, and then at the end of that function it calls another one, and it's just this constant function to function hot potato thing, and it doesn't really return back to a main section. This entire file is just like 30 functions that call one another in intricate ways to make sure that the game just keeps going on until someone wins. So we don't need to have return here. It can just be the draw to. And for this, this doesn't need to return. You only need return if you're like saying winner output function equals, like saying if winner output function equals none, you would need it to return none here for that check to check out correctly. Like, but I kind of find it weird to have a function return true or false. I feel like an attribute is what should be true or false, not a function. I feel like a function returning true or false is kind of weird. That's just my opinion. That's just my thing. To each their own, though. So, very quickly here, we got 5 more minutes left before our little break. We have winner output function. Would you like to play against such and such again? Well, I didn't put my discount double check up here. So we have current player names, final score. So at the end of the game, we do winner output, get the ID of the current player, assign other player based on that game, assign the game, get the other game assigned. Then we do round end winner sound bool is equal to true, which stops all music and plays the winner sound. Then we have current player names, final score was current player total score, and other player names, final score. Okay, yeah, and we want to make sure that the data doesn't get reset before this. And it doesn't, right? See, that's why we run data reset after winner output. Because to have the total score is a compilation of the finished round scores. And if the finished round scores were to get reset prior to this line, that would be the same bug that we would have had if round scores or whatever, or the same thing that like we just moved with the finished round scores, because that's what total score is, right? Total score is the compilation of finished round scores. Yep, it's the sum of the finished round scores. So since we don't run data reset prior to this, we're good. So as long as that is true, then we are safe. Let's make sure that is true. So here we have we're just making sure that data reset is not run prior to round reset, because that would mess everything up. And I kind of know it. I know that it's not. Sometimes you just have to check anyway, just to be sure. It just makes you feel better to look. Okay, cool. So we're good on that. Winner output, back to that. So current player's name, final score is current player total score. Another player name's final score was other player total score. Game of the game, blah, blah, blah. That's correct. Congratulations. You're the winner. Alright. Sorry, other player, you lost. Freaking loser. Freaking loser, dude. Okay, then we ask, would you like to play against other player name again? Multiple choice, yes or no. Then we say, would you like, yep, play against current player. And we're passing in other game. Right, so other player is used but sent to the current player. and then current player is sent to the other game for other player. So that is the correct logic. And then we have yes and then no. Very good. Start time is time. Alright, while time. Now it's going to give them 15 seconds to choose. So we have start time. And then while the current time minus the start time is less than or equal to 15. Yeah, once the greater number, it's going to keep growing. Minus, so let's just say 20 minus 10 is going to be 10. So it's going to be less than or equal to 15. It's going to continue to enter into the while loop. If they chose yes, then in the other game also chose yes, it's going to reset the game for both of them. It's going to let both of them know, rather. Then it's going to run the data reset function with match ending is equal to true. Okay. Then we have the draw 2. Skips the draw 1 since player names are already assigned. Okay, yeah, because we don't want to give them another, like, they don't want to change their name. And we're going to end up probably removing that completely to where names are like basically whatever your account name is, because we're going to have like an account. Each player is going to have their own account in the final state. So we're going to have to add that feature. Let's go over here and add that as things to do. Eventually, we're going to have to add that. Add code for creating an account. Or we'll say a permanent account. And how exactly that's going to be done, I'm not sure. How exactly are we going to implement this? Website, in-game, entry. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out, but that's got to be done eventually. Now, last thing we're going to do, we're going to go take a little break. But before that, we're going to check this. The draw 2 skips draw 1, blah, blah, blah. Review logic for this function routing. So if they choose to continue to play again, it's just going to call the draw 2. And I think we already looked at that function, but let's just go over there real quick. And that is called by the draw 1, but it's also called by the one we were just looking at, which is winner output. Yeah. Yep, winner output. Okay. And we'll just say winner output functions, plural. So this sets their game state and tells them to pick their card. This is like the very beginning of the game. The only thing that comes before that is their name entry, which is their draw 1, or player enter name rather. Yeah, so that's good. Good logic. So now we can go back down here and remove this to do because it's done. And then we have elif game select choice is equal to no. So if they don't want to play against each other again, we do resetting. No, I'm sorry. Then we say for G in game other game, G.match end bool, and this is going to end the game ultimately. And then we just put none, and we don't even need that. Like, we don't need anything here. This just says ends match. And you know, we don't even need this, right? Couldn't we just delete this right here and have it exist right here? Because it's going to do while time is, it's going to give them 15 seconds. If they both choose yes, then it's going to restart the game. Otherwise, once this is past 15 seconds, it's going to just go here. And that's the same. Okay, well, the only difference is instead of giving the 15 seconds, if within like the first 1 second they both choose no. So we can modify this though. Here, this is what we're gonna do. See, I'm getting smarter, dude. It's happening. I'm waking up. Well, time is this, and then we can say or game dot selected choice. We can paste that in. So or game selected choice is equal to no. Well, that's actually not right. But we can say not equal to. So while it's been less than 15 seconds, or game selected to choice is not equal to no, because selected choice doesn't selected choice get reset? Because that depends. It does depend. Matter of fact, hold up. I'm gonna take a little break. We'll come back and do this. But I think I see how we can improve this. Let me put my little note here. Let's see, below line. Say modify logic so the loop checks to see if at least one of the players chose no. If so, break out of the while loop. Yeah. So we're gonna figure that out. But I'm gonna take a little break. We will come back and have a little bit more coffee because I'm feeling a little tired. And I'm probably gonna take like a little walk and just till I get my heart pump, my blood pumping, and then we'll continue. So I'll be back in about, I don't know, about 10 minutes. We'll do 10-minute break real quick. Do a little 10-minute break, dude. Take a break, dude. Taketh a break, my friend. grease up off my face, but got that Earl on my face. Alright. Let's try to get some done here. Okay. I know what I could have done. Just be smart here. Do play next. Start over on its own. Alright. So, start it back over 62. Okay, so we're looking at selected choice here. We wanted to modify the logic so that the loop checks to see if at least one of the players chose no. If so, break out of the while loop. So while time is less than 50, so it gives them 15 seconds, checks selected choice. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to move this selected choice equal to no to be part of the while loop. Because we want it to... I know what we need to do. We say or. So so it gives them 15 seconds. So while it's been less than 15 seconds, or we'll do this to put them together. Like this. I think this would be the proper way, right? So while it's been less than 15 seconds, or game selected choice is equal to no, or other game selected choice is equal to no. So basically, we have this or this. So when one of these becomes true, well, it's actually while true. It will break out once it becomes false. So this is true. And then we need this to be true for it to remain iterating. So we would need it to say not equal to no. And then or other game selected choice is not equal to no. Yeah, we don't need this actually. We'll just do a triple. Yep. So while it's been less than 15 seconds, true, or game selection choice is not equal to no, which it would be like none or something until they make their choice, and then the same thing but for the other player. So as soon as the game selected choice became no, or the other game selected choice became no, or 15 seconds was up. In those three scenarios, it would continue iterating. But once at least one of these... Well, actually, that's not true. Yeah, because... So, if we left it like this... If we left it like this, it would always remain true until the time was up. So we need to have and. So both of these conditions have to be true. But it doesn't, like, that's the confusing part, is we want and, but these two conditions are separate. Like, or do we just do triple and? Like this? So while it's been less than 15 seconds and selected choice is not no, and the other game selected choice is not no. So all three of these have to be true. Otherwise, it will break out of it. So if at least one of these ends up not being true, so if this one gets changed to yes, or it gets changed to no, if this one gets changed to no, or if time, if it's been greater than or equal to 15 seconds, it will no longer remain inside of this while loop. Yeah. So 15 seconds passes, it's going to break out. If selected choice is equal to no, it's going to break out. If other game selected choice is equal to no, it's going to break out. I think that's correct, yeah. Why do I feel like that's wrong? It's not wrong, it's right. Yep, as soon as one of these is not the case, it breaks out. Yeah, so now, alright, now we can get rid of this. So this right here, for G and game it, boom. So we take that away. And now it's going to directly go from here. So it's going to check the time. If time has been 15 seconds or greater, it's going to break out. But if game selected choice is not no, it's going to continue. If other game selected choice is not no, it's going to continue. But as soon as at least one of them changes to no, or the 15 seconds is up, it will automatically break out of the while loop, which would run this part right here. There we go. Fixed it. Cool. Yep, and we did double check it, so we can put that. And we'll just change this. We'll say gives them to choose if at least one player chooses no, breaks out of the loop, and ends the match. Very nice. Very nice. Alright. So let's see, we have convert round reset to separate functions, so we did that. Modify win check to not auto reroute to the draw 2, we did that. Ensure data reset is run when match ends from server side main thread. Yeah, that's progression, that's what we just added. It guarantees resetting to default settings at the end of a match. Make sure it gets called when forfeit or a regular match end. And yeah, that's literally what we just did. Alright. So we're done. Cool. Let me just go see if we have any... Okay, right, this is the next thing we need to do. We're going to review this. God, I didn't feel like doing this. I didn't want to do this. Man. Oh well. Alright. Say review data reset. Data reset func. Shit! Review to ensure all code is proper for end of match and route data reset since it's been a while since it was reviewed. Alright. So what we're gonna have to do here is we want to make sure that first of all that like all this stuff that's being reset in player is everything that needs to be reset, like that we're not forgetting to reset something, you know, or maybe we're resetting something that doesn't need to be reset, or maybe it doesn't exist at all anymore. I didn't want to do that, man. We need to ensure that all the data will be transferred properly, so we can move this over here. Actually, we can leave that. It's okay. We can have it in two places. It just makes sure it gets done. And then this is going to be ensure data reset function data changes are transferred to CS. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but it's always good to check, right? And then the last thing is check to see if we need to reset GamePy data. That is very much true. Check to see if data reset function should include GamePy data. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so first things first, it's iterating through here and it's going to do finish round scores. And I guess first we'll make sure everything that it does reset needs to be reset, and then we'll check to see if there's anything that's like left out. So let's just go line by line and look at each one. So this one is a regular list. It gets appended at the end of round score. We actually, I don't like how that is done. I think what I'm gonna do here, yeah, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this because I just don't like how this is done. It's kind of dangerous. So let's look at round score here. If we so much as whisper the word round score, like so right here, it's gonna calculate it and then it's gonna append to finish round scores, and that is the only place we do it. But it's just, it's not right. It's just not the way to do it. It's weird. Like checking this list is weird. It's just a strange thing to do. I know I wanted to like have magic and, you know, have one thing do another thing. It's kind of cool. But that's one thing I don't want going on. So we're going to get rid of this. Let's go over here to round score. Not R, but round score. Let's find it. this is going to be changed. Appended to at the end of each round. This adder doesn't need to be transferred. It is locally handled, server side only. Although it is passed to progression text function, it is not actually necessary to transfer the data since it becomes part of the progression text, which is transferred. So this is going to be not used on, so it's not used on client side at all, right? It's passed to data progression text function. Okay, so that's cool. That makes things easier. But now let's go here, and we're going to remove this. So this finish round score. Yeah, we don't like that. Return round score. And we don't have a setter. Alright, so now, at the end of the round, we want to append to finish round scores. So that should happen in round reset function. So if we go, I guess right here. So immediately after the round score is calculated, and we don't want to recalculate it. And the only way to avoid that would be to assign it to a variable. So we can say P1 round score is equal to P1 dot round score. I know that's a little bit strange. It's okay. Like, I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this. There's almost always a smarter way to do things, but as long as it's good enough. So this gets calculated at this point in time, and I would just put assigned to avoid property double calculation, because it's kind of a lot of things to calculate. So it's going to do P1 round score here, and we're going to pass in this instead. Yeah, and this is just going to be P2 round score, baby. Alright, we got self, not self. We're going to do 4 P in P1, P2, and then we do P dot finish round scores, append. We can't do that. Shit. Well, we'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. Get rid of this shit. Oh, we'll copy this line. Boom. Get rid of that. Boom. Do it right here. Boom. We'll say P1 finish round scores append. P1 round score. And then we're gonna do copy that. Get rid of this long-ass comment. And then do this for P2. So now we got P1 round scores equal to P1 round score. P1 finish round scores append P1 round score, and then we do P2 round scores equal to P2 round score, and P2 dot finish round scores append P2 round score. Almost missed that. Yep, so P1 round scores equal to P1. round score append P1 round score, P2 round score is equal to P2 dot round score, blah blah blah, and then we got P2 round score is append P2. Alright, and then we print it out. We print out the already calculated variable. Okay, cool. There we go. That's done. And what were we doing? All right, so we're reviewing all the things in here. So now finished round scores is straightforward, no funny business. And let's go back over here, highlight this. I tell you what, dude, I am a little bit tired. I only slept for like 4.5 hours, but I wanted to get back on schedule, and I woke up and I was like, whatever. I was just gonna like try to go back to sleep, and I was like, no, let's just go ahead and get up. But I might need a little bit more coffee because I'm feeling a little bit sleepy here. Alright, so total score is just the sum of finished round scores. Yep, so there we go. We have boom, boom, and then it gets appended to. Well, it gets cleared after it gets appended to. And I forgot to change this. That was one of the whole reasons. So then we do if P1 round score is greater than, see how much simpler this is. If P1 is greater than P2, then we know that P1 won the round. And then we do right here, we do P1 round score is equal to P2 round score. Yeah, and then this one is going to be if P2 is greater than P1. So we just change this to P1. So let's review here. If P1 round score is greater than P2, that's P1 is the winner. Right. Okay, then we have if P1 is equal to P2, they both are fucking winners in this case. Both players had the same score. The round was a tie. And then if P2 is greater than P1, P2 is the winner. And we do blah blah blah. P2 is the winner, etc., etc. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so I feel like we're done here with finished round scores. I think it's safe. It gets appended to, and yeah, that's it. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Bad len temp melds list ref. Do we need to clear that? Maybe we don't. And that's another thing. Just removing dead code is very important to me. So what is this here? Proposed replacement for directly below commented out section to avoid reassigning all of those attributes in setup to make more simple and less confusing. Not sure it will work since bugs stopped game from running up to this point, leaving to enable this later to see if it works. We can't import custom append list from the top of the file because custom append list imports player. It's a circular import, so we're trying to import it at this specific location instead. Remember, if this works, remove associated code assignments from setup. I'm like, wait a second, why? This adder is not used at all on client side, therefore only run this if SSCS is equal to SS. So trying to use it all on CS, if we run this only SS or CS. Okay, so this is apparently true, and I think that all this, I think that's correct. So let's go ahead and rearrange this here. And in this section right here, so, well, one thing at a time, Bulldog. One thing at a time, Big Bro. Let's just do that. So we have these. Let's organize these based on the ones that are only used client side. Be very careful here. Okay. Oh, I just almost messed up there. Alright, there we go. So all of these, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of these are only used on the server side, therefore we only would run this if SS or CS is equal to SS. So let's get rid of these lines here. Reroute, discard, initial played card is the last one. So we go right here, and then these would be if changed attribute. Where is SS or CS located again? Change attribute list. So we have to do import from, from change attribute list, import C1 change attribute list, C2, and then we also have to import No, we can't do it like that. We have to import the whole thing. And what about having both of them? Import change attribute list. So can we do both of those things for accessing global SS or CS? We'll say necessary. Import format for accessing global SS or CS. Yes, this is true. And then we need to say if changed attribute list dot SS or CS is equal to, so only if we're working from the what? It's only server side, right? Yeah. So SS. So if SS or CS is equal to SS, is this true? Is that correct? Pretty sure it is. Let's see. It's not used on CS, so if it's SS, right? So it's not CS. So that means it's only run when it's equal to SS, correct? Alright, cool. We need to indent. So let's do that. And then these get run regardless. So I'll just say, well, just put verified none of these are used on the CS at all. Therefore, don't even need to create them. Well, unless they're referenced, you know what I mean? But, like, supposedly we reviewed this. That's what I put. Like, I had all those comments. I must have reviewed it. I'm gonna trust myself, right? But this here, this I wanna see, because this is a bunch of lines, and I'm all about getting rid of the dead code here. So we have a proposed replacement for directly below commented out section to avoid reassigning. For directly below commented out section. Wait, what? This is the proposed replacement for to avoid reassigning all those attributes in setup. Oh, okay, to make it more simple and less confusing. Right. Not sure if it'll work since bugs have the game from running up to this point. Leaving to enable this later to see if it works. We can't import custom playlists from top to bottom. Right. So we're trying to import this. Yeah, local a local import should work. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if this will throw a circular import error, because the issue apparently is that custom append list imports player. So in player we can't import custom append list because we use P1 and P2 here. Yes, we do, and we do a lot, don't we? Now, I don't know if it would still be circular. That's something I'm a little bit fuzzy on. Like, if you have a class, so in just like our file, if you have file A imports file B at the global scope at the top, file A is importing file B. In file B, if you were to do import file A, you'll get a circular import. Now, I know that there's a way to avoid that, or at least I think there is, where you import inside of a function. So if you have a function in file A, that inside of that function it imports file B, and then in file B you could import file A without a circular issue, right? I think I want to test that actually, because I am a little bit fuzzy on this. I don't really like to spend time testing like concepts. I'm kind of past that point in time, but I kind of want to know. This is something that I have messed with before, but I have trouble like remembering what the actual like the actual way that it works. So let's create a new file here. So just gonna create a new file. It's gonna be Python, and it's gonna just have we'll just do z equals 1, whatever. That's fine. Now we'll save this as test import as a Python file. Now we're gonna go over here and we'll do import test import. Now if we do that, and then we print out test, or let's see, print test import dot z, and we run this code. We get 1, and then we can do pi test reminders pi. Oh, we need to move to Canasta main. No, Canasta testing. I'm an idiot. And then we do pi test reminders there. And you get 1. Alright. But if we go back to import, and then we say import test reminders, you're going to get... Well, let's see if this one works. And you run test reminder. See, now you get an error. Now you get a circular import error. But if you change this to be inside of a function, we say def f, and then inside of that we do this. We import test import. Now what happens? Ooh, see, it runs. It works. But what if you call the function? Now if you call it, is it still gonna work? Oh, no, it doesn't. What a bitch. Import this import. So you would have to only import. What about if you only imported part of it? So if we did, let's do from test import z. So we're just gonna import z directly. If we do it like that, what happens then? So it's still circular import. It doesn't matter, even if you're only, you know. Now, but what if? Well, I mean, that's fine. So now let's say we have def, we'll just call it g. All right, we have this function, and then inside of that function we import test reminders, and then we do z equals 1. And let's try to run. Well, actually, hold up. I want to see if the behavior is the same. So now, if we were to, let's see, pi test import. What happens if you run test import? Well, that works. But if you try to run test reminders, you get the issue. But ultimately, you still get an import problem. You still have the import issue. But test import actually lets you import the test reminders. Because it's imported on the local scope. But once you have this importing it, when it gets called, because at that point in time you have already imported this file into test import, it's already considered to be a circular thing. I thought you could avoid that though. So if we did def g, and now we import test reminder and do z, what happens then? Do we have any different behavior? No, it still doesn't work. So test reminder, test import. Well, that's because you're not calling the function. So if you call the function though in test import, then you get a circular import. Oh wait, hold up. Oh, no, this is different. I'm tripping. Let's see, import. I was fucking up there. This needs to be import test import. And then we just run F. So now if we run test reminders, what do we get? Oh, it works, dude. Hold up. Whoa. Ooh. Ooh. Hold up. Okay, so I was fucking up. Let's try this again. Oh. See, I thought this worked. So, test reminders imports test import in F. Test import imports test reminders in G. Normally this would be a circular import issue. But since they're both inside of a function, even though both of the function gets called, it's because of the compilation. It compiles it first. If the import conflict exists at the time of compilation, you get the import error, the circular import error. But when they're inside of a function, I don't know if you have to have both of them in a function, but the function thing avoids it because it's at runtime. So test import works, test reminders works. Now what if you had, let's see, if we do it like this, I think we're going to get a import error here. So if we just do import test reminders into test import, and then we run test import. No, that actually works. So you can, but what if we run F? What if, well, that's not, well, no, yeah, so we do import reminders, or test reminders dot F, and then we run. Oh, so that works. Print F. So this is interesting. So as long as it's locally imported in one place, you can globally import it in the other. But if they're globally imported in both locations, then you get the circular issue. And I thought that was my understanding of it, but I wasn't completely sure. That was how I understood that it worked, but I wasn't like, I wasn't 100%. But this kind of verifies that. So we have F in test reminders, which imports the entire test import, and then it just prints F. Then we actually call F from test reminders, and then we have then we have test import, which imports test reminders at the global space. We then call test reminders.f. So when we run test import, it first imports this function, or this file. Because this file runs F at the global level, it executes this code, which will import the test import file. And then, so if we even put print test reminders, then we run this again, you'll get test reminders printing out first because that's just the order of operations. So when you run test import, you get test reminders printed out first, then you get F, which is because F is being called from test reminders, which prints F. imports test reminders. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I put it in the wrong place. Dummy. I was like, wait. Why? Because you're an idiot. Let's do it again. There we go. Alright. So test import runs. It imports test reminders. When that happens, it prints this out first. So that's why you get test reminders at the top. Then you get the F called, which will print out F. So that's what that is. And then test import calls F, which prints out F again. But why does it get called a third time? Oh, because F imports test import. So then that does it again. So this gets called again. That's a little bit confusing. Not the safest, not the cleanest thing to do, right? Like, this is some weird fucking, like, using a mirror. It's like using a mirror with some weird shit going on. It's like putting two mirrors in front of each other at an angle. Like, you got to angle, like, it's a weird thing that's going on here. It's kind of hard to understand unless you have experience with imports. But ultimately, it works and it doesn't throw an error. The only thing is, the behavior is, I guess you could just call it dangerous, because any code executed at the global level of each file will get, like, run twice, basically, right? That's ultimately what's happening, because we have test reminders itself that runs F. And then when imports test reminders, that will run F again. So F gets ran whenever it's imported into test import. It gets called explicitly in test import. And then it gets run a third time when you import test import, because it's executed at the global level. That is so weird. This is a very bad example. This is like a mind twister. It's fucking confusing. This is not our real world example. Okay, so anyway, long story short, we can do this, but we have to do it the right way without, like, causing triple execution of code and stuff. Okay, so let's go where we need to go, which is, first of all, let's move these over, get that out the way, and then we got player. All right, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to import custom append list at the class level inside of the init. but we're only importing the class. We're not like importing the entire file. So that is different. That's not going to execute all the global stuff. Right, right. So this should work. Yeah, that should work fine. So let me try to duplicate this a little better. Let's make this a little cleaner here. So we're gonna get rid of all this, and then let's make a real duplicate. So this test reminders will represent where we're importing the code to. So we're importing the code to player, and we're importing from custom append list. Alright, but we're not importing an object, we're importing a class. Well, a class is an object. I know it's confusing. If you don't know Python, this might sound really confusing to you, but in Python, everything is an object. So we'll say we need to have a class here and then another class here. So we put a class, we'll say def, or no, not def, we'll say class. This will be player. And then we just have our def init. And then we have we just have self.x equals 1. And then we're gonna do from test import, and we'll just import custom append list. So it's the same language. And then over here in test import, we're going to have the class custom append list. And then we have our init. And this is just going to have like name, whatever. It needs to be name. We don't actually instantiate any custom append list class instances. We just leave it like that. And now we'll say, what did I just do? I made a boo-boo. Alright, so now we got P1 equals player, but this is supposed to be capitalized. So let's do it like that. So player, P1 equals player. Alright, now let's run. Well, let's review. So we have test reminders creating the player class, importing custom append list class from test import inside the initializer of the player class object. Then we instantiate the player class via P1 assignment, and in test import we have the custom append list class with an initializer that just has the name attribute. We don't instantiate custom append list class at all. And then we go over here, and what we're going to want to do is we would actually want to instantiate custom append list. So we'll say self.hand equals custom append list. Well, it's supposed to be a list. It inherits from the base list class. So I think we just do the list like this. Is that how we do it? Yeah. So custom append list, and then it inherits from list. So yeah, and then it's gonna say self and then name. So it takes self and name. And then we can just pass right here. Or rather, we'll do self name is equal to name. And then we go back over here, and we'll just give it a name. We'll call it p1.hand, or is that actually how it's done? Sometimes why do we do P1 is equal to custom append list P1? But what about P2? Something ain't right with that. Something ain't right with this, dude. Why do we not do P2? We're trying to import. I mean, we're trying to instantiate the badland temp melds list ref, but we're only doing it for P1. And this is not right. Okay. We would just have if. We would check to see if they're P1 or P2 first. Right? So if ID is equal to 1, we do P1, and if ID is equal to 2, we do P2. Is that how that works? Yeah, I think so. So that would work. Yeah, and that would cause it to be instantiated just once in this proper location. Yeah, and that's what we would like it to do, I think. So player self, and then we'll just do ID. And then when we create player, we're gonna say we'll pass in 1 for the ID, and then it'll be if ID is equal to 1, then we say self hand is equal to P1.hand, and else, or elif ID is equal to 2, we then do self hand, and we're gonna pass in the P2 hand right there. Oopsie, messed that up. And now we'll make another, make P2 as well. And we're going to pass in 2 as the ID. And then if we print well, yeah, I guess we say print P1.hand, and then we're going to print P2 hand. Now this should work, so let's review. We got player, init, take self, ID, self x equal to 1, that's irrelevant. From test import, we import the custom append list class locally. If the ID is equal to 1, we say self hand is equal to custom append list instance with the name P1 hand. If ID is 2, we do the same thing but with P2 hand. And then over here in test import, we have custom append list inheriting from the base list class. We pass in self name and then say self dot name is equal to name. Yeah, and that should work, right? I think this is a direct reflection of what we're trying to do. We have 2 classes. One of them is locally importing another class object and then instantiating instances of that class object inside of it. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Alright, so now if we run this, it should work. I think it should anyway. So let's... Alright, I don't know why that's doing that. Kill the terminal. Alright, let's run it again. So we're going to do test reminders. Hey, and it works. No import error at all. Oh yeah, but we forgot to import. That's the thing. We forgot to import player, and we import it at the global level. So from player, we import P1 and P2. So this is a direct reflection. So now if we add the import, now does it still work? Test reminder. Wait, what? Okay, we got a bug here. What is this? Test reminders from test import custom list. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. It's supposed to be from test reminders import P1, P2. Duh, yeah, because test reminders is the reflection of player, so we don't actually import player, we import from test reminder import P1, P2. And P1, P2 are instantiated there. Alright, so now if we run it, oh, we get a circular import. No, that's not what we wanted. That's not good. Let's see here, test reminders 6677 player 1 import custom append list. So test reminders runs P1 instantiation. That in turn will run this code here, which goes to 6671, where we import custom append list, and then that goes over there, and whenever we do from test reminders import P1, P2, it's going to say that's where the problem is. So then you go, you're importing custom append list here. When you instantiate P1. But when you do that, it tries to import custom append list. But custom append list has imported P1 and P2. So you can't do that. Oh man. P1 equals player 1. Let's import custom append list. Cannot import name custom append from partially initialized module test import. So we can't do that. Now I thought you could. I thought there was a way around that. I'm guessing it has to do with the timing, because I want to say, like, if you did it after, so it executes all global level code. So if this was not at the global level, it would work, right? Like if we did, couldn't we just do if name is equal to main, so that whenever you're importing it, it doesn't get run? If we added if name is equal to main here, only import P1 or P2, would that work? So we have P1X. We could do P1X and P2X. Let's see here. We'll do print P1.x, print P2.x. This is that bullshit right here. So my only question is, well, I don't know. I have a few. If name is equal to main, isn't that how you do it? So in test reminders, P1 is player. Then we say self hand is custom appendless. Okay. P1 hand. What's the problem with that? Then we go to test import, print P1X. Why does it go from there to there? We're running test reminders, and what it does is we have P1 assigned, instantiated. And the import line works, actually. It passes over it with no issue. But it gets to this part where we instantiate the custom append list. And in that one, it tries to print P1X. But P1 is not defined. Did we forget to import it? Well, yeah, okay, so that's not gonna work. Yeah, because it's not, I mean, it's working correctly, but that's bad logic. You can't access P1 because from that perspective, it doesn't know what P1 is. So when we would try to, if we tried to do that here and instantiate custom append list, whenever it instantiated it, it would try to run this code here, but it wouldn't know what P1 or P2 was, because this wouldn't have run because it's being imported. Does that make sense? Unless it got initialized first. If this one got initialized first, yeah, that's kind of complicated. If it got initialized first, it would run it from main. No, it wouldn't. It would never get executed because you would have to execute from custom append list, and that actually never happens. So that literally just wouldn't work. So we couldn't do the if name is equal to main thing. But we could do a local import inside of the class. I don't know if that's going to work though. I feel like that's not going to work. So we have a double local import. So instead of having this at the global level, we would try to put it inside of the custom append list class, like right before where it's needed or whatever. But I don't know if that will avoid the circular import issue. So we have the same code. The only thing here that's different is we're importing P1 and P2 inside of the custom append list initializer, and I feel like that's going to be it's a circular import issue because that's not going to work. So you got P1 at 6677. Alright, and then you have 6673, which instantiates custom append list, and then it tries to import P1, P2. Which it goes back and does it again. Yeah, so that's not gonna work. Yeah, there's no way around it. It's not gonna work. Oh well, it is what it is. Imports can be very confusing, just straight up. I still get confused about imports, honestly. They can be just really very confusing. So that's not going to work at all. I thought though there was a way. Python locally importing to avoid circular import. Circular imports happen in Python when two modules depend on each other at import time. One clean workaround is to delay the import until runtime inside a function, method, or class instead of at the top of the file. This is often called a local import. Yeah, so if it was inside of a function, that would but it's because in the context, it's within the context of the initializer, you would be importing, and then in the context of that initializer that gets called, it also circularly imports. And it can't initialize, like, it's not done initializing. Honestly, it's just not even worth it. Like, it can be done, but that's just more confusing. Like, straight up, that doesn't simplify anything. Just to have it executed and set up like this, well, this is all changed. It needs to be a little bit tidied up here, but ultimately what we end up doing is we just instantiate all of them in setup. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it has to be because they import from each other. The instantiation. Well, they don't import from each other. They can't really import from each other. Custom append list imports player, therefore player cannot import custom append list. It's just that simple. And you could try to say, well, maybe we don't need this card group name dictionary, but we do. Yeah, because we modify it, right? We make modifications here. After reviewing the associated, all this line isn't necessary. It does ensure that just in case I miss some third-hand indirect namespace reference to one of these dict vowels wherein they were reassigned, that the line immediately below references the proper card groups. But that should never happen. Do not remove after reviewing oh, this line isn't necessary. It does ensure that just in case I miss some third-hand indirect namespace reference to one of these dict vowels wherein they were reassigned, that the line immediately below references the proper card groups. Yeah, because they're mutable, so this should only have to be assigned once. You shouldn't have to reassign card group name dict at all, because you just do it one time. But that's just a repeating of this line up here. So this is the organization here. I don't know. I'm just not sure about this. I feel like card group name dictionary could just be moved. If that's the only reason we're importing the player here, I mean, it does make more sense. It just does. It makes more sense to assign these card groups. Like, we do it in setup, but we could just do it here. That would be the right way to do it. That's like the proper location for it. And that would be easily, like, we could easily fix this. It could be fixed rather simply, I think. If we moved card group name dictionary. But don't we need that? Like, don't we have to have the... Don't we have to have it here? Card group, if self-card name is in self-card name dictionary. Well, we do use it extensively here. Yeah, we do. And in setup, we import custom append list. Like, how would we get how would we get card group name dictionary here? We would have to import it. Oh, this is complicated. There's too many different things. I don't know if I want to change that. We would have to make like a bunch of different changes to get this right. Because if we imported card group name, if we put it inside a setup and then we imported it here, like regardless, we're gonna have to import it. And because that imports P1 hand and stuff, I don't think we would be able to import. Wouldn't that still be a circular import issue? I don't know. I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna go eat a little bit and think about it. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. I don't wanna change something like just to. I don't want to change it unless I really have to. I mean, if it makes sense to change it, I will. I don't want to butcher it, you know. Card group name dict is needed here. Yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna take a break. It's cooking my little brain, dude. So we're gonna take a break and I'm gonna go eat a little bit. I might come back and code a little bit more, but yeah.